Just checking on a couple other little things here. Mostly I wanted to kill a little time to make sure everybody was on here and watching. So we're some 6-7 minutes into the show. 6 minutes and 15 seconds to be precise. And the reason I can be precise is because of a guy named Jim Samples, who goes by the name of Aesop's Retreat, who many years ago, from the beginning I think, took this giant Gordian knot of rambling, which is the Stratosphere Lounge, and started putting time code markers on it, on his own time, and without any assistance from me, certainly. I would simply go and look at a Stratosphere Lounge article, and on YouTube, and I would see somebody had put the end times with a link to the end times on all the subject I covered in that mindless meandering wandering, and I was very grateful for that, and then found out later that he'd taken pretty much every single topic that I've ever done and saved it as a separate clip, for which I am enormously just astounded by. And it was revealed to me that Jim has lost his wife of almost 50 years, named June. And before I got this news, which I got earlier today, I mentioned at the beginning I was thinking about doing these little quick, shoot them on the iPhone and just upload them straight kind of thing. And I was thinking about doing one, and if it's still roughly news tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. And I was thinking about doing one on Occupy Portland. There's a point to this. So the left moves in, tries to get immigration, the ICE office closed there by just basically barricading it. It's kind of ironic that the people that are calling for open borders and no walls, first thing they did in their little camp was to put up walls and start making some walls. Anyway, I was thinking about doing a piece on that, and what the first headline I read was that they had to get hazmat teams to come in to clean up the filth. There was just so much just human excrement and everything that it was a toxic waste site. And this is what happened in New York and wherever else the Occupy movement has been. And I was thinking about this morning in the shower, because some of us take showers. And I was thinking to myself, this is a point for this, Jim. I was thinking to myself, if you were to with completely unbiased eyes, that old saw, some alien comes down, and if you were to take 100 people out of a Tea Party group and 100 people out of an Occupy group and send both, one pair of each, one person from each, to 100 different psychologists, so that 100 different psychologists, not knowing any of the background, they don't know who they're from, how they've been selected, nothing. 100 different psychologists have a chance to compare the Tea Party person with the Occupy person. Again, completely, nobody's saying what they're doing, nobody's talking about their politics. Just give them a basic fundamental psychological rundown. Then I think the score in terms of who would be judged the healthiest would be 100 to 0. That the Tea Party conservatives in every one of those cases would be found to be enormously more psychologically sane than the Occupy people. I bet it's 100 to nothing. I wouldn't bet my life on it. I bet my car on it, though. And before I got this news today, I was just thinking about this, and I've mentioned this occasionally, but the truth is, I cannot tell you the joy I get from meeting people who've been attracted to this work for reasons still unknown to me. The greatest absolute greatest honor of my life has been not being a little bit famous. It's been being a little bit famous with the kind of people that I'm a little bit famous with. I have moved in some very dark places for many, many decades. And I don't mean just psychologically dark. I was in some bad places, and I've also spent during those years a fair amount of time with the whole Hollywood crowd and believing a lot of what they believed and so on. And the contrast between the two people is so astonishing. The contrast is so extreme that I realized that this show and all the work I do is, I don't want to say it's a collaborative effort with the people who've been following me, but it is without question a symbiotic relationship. And what I mean by that is, I'm not the person I was when I started doing this. The people I've come in contact with have made me so much of a better person than I used to be that I was not capable of doing the things I'm doing now or seeing the things that I see now. I certainly wasn't capable of ever being married when I started doing this. The contact I've gotten from you people over the years has been responsible not just for the work I do, but it's been responsible for turning me into a human being when I was a long, long way from that. And Jim, I'm going to all this trouble to tell you that it's people like you, and I'm sure your wife as well, who went to the trouble to do things like that for no selfish reason whatsoever, just because they thought people should hear it. And it's not a trivial thing. It's a lot of work. I've always known it was a lot of work. So I was sitting outside last night with my wife, Natasha, who's watching now. And we were talking about things, and, we'll have met each other 2 years ago on Friday. And we both talked about how unimaginable our life would be without each other, and simply, I don't really care where I am or what I'm doing, so long as she's there, I'm happy. So when I hear that you've lost a wife of 48 years, which is pretty much most of my life, I simply cannot imagine what it's like. So as a person who's never suffered that kind of loss before, I have poor ability to console you, Jim, but I'll do my best. The things that have always helped me in these times are two or three just very simple things. Not that you need my help on this, but I think the thing that I always try to keep in mind in a situation like this, when the grief and the sadness just threatens to overwhelm me, just put me out. I just don't want to get out of bed. I just want to stay and sleep forever. My first thought always goes to, well, what would the person who I'm grieving over want me to do? If you believe that they're watching you now, and I do believe that, then what would they want? If they were the most important person in your life, as certainly June was, and certainly as my wife is, I would feel an obligation to her memory and to her person to do my level best to try to live as happy a life as I could. No one's ever going to get over a loss like that. That hole's never going to go away, never going to be filled. But I would hope that you keep in mind that while you can't do much about the grief you're feeling, your wife would want you to not dig yourself any deeper, and to get out of that hole as quickly as you can. You've still got time here for reasons that are not known to you or me or anybody else. I am 100% convinced in my heart. I don't have the physical evidence, but I just believe that you certainly will see each other again. What I do believe, having studied the physics of it quite a lot, and scientists' inability to explain time, how time itself is a mystery. It doesn't really belong with the rest of this stuff. More and more it seems that time is a perception issue that we have. And that means that all of the time you spent with your wife is still there. You've carved your initials, both of you, you've carved your initials into the universe. I personally believe that the time you spent together has never gone away. It's always been there. It always will be there. There was no before or after. It was just there. The decisions you made baked into the structure of time and space. And so the time you spend together is as real as this moment that I've just mentioned, which is already in the past, and certainly as real as the moment that's coming up now. Gone. So I would just simply say, 48 years of marriage, you must have made some astonishingly beautiful and long-lasting grooves in the fabric of our universe. You've certainly done it in the fabric of my life. It's been one of the things that has constantly kept me going, is just the quality of the people I meet, every single one of them, every one of them. And you above virtually everyone, Jim. And the only other thing I could possibly add to that is this. It's almost impossible when you lose someone or something to not feel some guilt about things, maybe things that you shouldn't have done or things that you did do or things you should have said or didn't say, or maybe secrets that you kept and wanted to reveal. What I believe is that if that is the case, June knows all about it now, and she knows your heart. She's known your heart from the beginning. So if you feel like there were things that you didn't say or do or wanted to, I completely believe that she is well aware of all of these things, and certainly is now. So to say you have my condolences is beyond my ability to say anything. It just sounds trite and silly, but you have my condolences, Jim, and as a person who just recently got married after 57 years of being a bachelor, 56, something like that. It's taken me better part of a century to finally understand just the outside, just the shadow on the wall of the cave of what being married is, and what finding that person who's right for you is, and what it does for you. By weird coincidence, Natasha and I were talking about this quite a bit last night, that not only had we not had these feelings before, we just didn't know that feelings like this existed. I just want you to know that on behalf of everybody who's watching the show, watch the show, the literally dozens of people that tune in weekly, and there I am being arch and ironic again, when in point of fact, Jim, as a general rule, 4,000 or 5,000 people watch this show on YouTube, and they're guided to the parts they need to find because of the work that you've done without being asked to do it, without any help from me, and certainly without any pay. It's been a big part of our Star Citizen experience as well. And the best news is also pretty much in character, and you're going to have to forgive me for looking down because I would rather get this right than pretend like I know what I'm doing. Sorry, 1 second, Jim. Yeah, I want to make sure I get this right. So, if you're one of the people watching this, if you're one of the people who have benefited from this man who you don't know spending his time away from his wife to catalog and to list and to, pull and edit and all the rest of it, all of these clips, there is a GoFundMe page that has been set up in June's honor. And knowing Jim, it doesn't surprise me to find out that it is that all money is raised through that GoFundMe project is going to go to the Wounded Warrior project, which I am the proud shirt owner. So we're going to put the link to that down below here on the YouTube channel, and I'll put a link to it on the Facebook page. And Jim, this is the last thing I can think to say about it. I don't know how old you are. I imagine you're roughly the same age as me. I noticed from your avatar from the longest time, it looked like it was 9th Cavalry shield. When I've had to lose a few pets, I don't mean to equate the two. I don't want to be that's violently reprehensible. It's not what I'm doing. It's just that these are the closest losses that I've had. Animals have been my companions for my entire life. I haven't met anybody really for me until I met Natasha. And when I face the fact that they go away and I have to deal with it, 7th Cavalry, sorry, beg pardon, that was a bad error. 7th Cav. When they go, Jim, and when I have to make that trip down to the vet, I remind myself that that this is what they cost. This is what it costs. You can avoid the pain of this, but you would lose the 48 years. This is the price. And the more you get out of it, the more it's going to cost. And I think if we go into things knowing that, it makes this, if not easier to bear, at least a little less astonishing and gobsmacking, all of the people I love and all of the things I love and the animals I love and all the rest of these things, people, especially all of it. It brings so much happiness to me, and I know the time is going to come when, when I'm going to lose some of them, and that's what it costs to have them. That's the deal. It's the way it is. You can not go through the grief of losing them, and the cost of not going through the grief of losing them is not having experienced them at all, and I don't think that's a bargain you would want to make. It's certainly not a bargain I would have ever made under any circumstances. I've been married for 2 years. It's changed my life. We've been married for 48, and you're a good man, Jim, and I know June must have been a very good woman because she managed to straighten you out somehow, and we're going to miss her, and we're going to be thinking about you all the time, and we're going to be with you if you need us. The Strata Loungers is a pretty small subgroup of a kind of an obscure internet pundit anyway. But as Cheryl Toomey said when she sent me the letter this afternoon, we do take care of our own, and you are not just one of our own, Jim. You're the guy. You're the guy. Aesop's Retreat and never failed to amaze me and inspire me and fill me with tremendous honor and gratitude and make me want to get up and do this again. So there you go. Don't hesitate, Jim. If there's anything I can do for you, I'll link to these things afterwards. I'll put a link up tomorrow morning when it's going to get the best traffic. But if there's anything else I can do for you, for God's sakes, man, don't hesitate to ask. You've done so much for me, I don't even know where to begin. Okay, well, that will be it for the time being, I suppose.